Namaste to everyone all over the world who are watching this program. Welcome to another session of this wonderful line of discussions that we have been having. And we have been discussing over various different sectors that are going to be impacted going forward because of what is happening in the world currently. And also we wanted to discuss from a long-term strategy perspective as to what should be now a more evolved way of living, a more better world that we can create. And on that basis, we have been discussing across various different sectors that impact human life. We spoke with healthcare, we spoke with spirituality, we spoke with art, and we have been speaking with education as well. But we have spoken with people who are running higher education institutions. Today, we want to discuss something that is getting discussed in a big way across most parts of the world, the future of school education, because schools are the most impacted sectors in this current pandemic situation, especially because children are going to be at high risk going out and venturing in the world if and when the pandemic situation does ease out, and if and when the lockdowns are eased out and systems go back to normal. Because there is that unsurety in that issue, the future of education looks unclear right now to many, especially to parents and children as well. And most importantly to people running schools, because that is something that is also very important. People believe that people running schools are not affected at all. They don't seem to have any vision of their own. And that's not true, because I myself are part of our organization. We run 3 schools, and we know on a daily, weekly basis, we are following the trends, we are following what directives are coming in, and that is going to shape our decision making. Similarly, I wanted to have a discussion with other key members of the education fraternity who have been in the sector of education for decades now, and they have years and years of experience in running, managing schools, setting up academics, setting up management, setting up the admin. And I'm very happy to be joined today with 3 very popular groups of schools from 3 different parts of India. Today with us is Shri J.P. Singh sir. He's joining us from Hyderabad. And he is managing the Sujata group of schools, which is a very prestigious group of schools from Hyderabad area. And he has a vast experience. He's a 2nd generation educationist and has been involved in the school management for many decades now. We are also joined today with Mr. Neel and Nitu ma'am from Hyderabad, from Kolhapur, who are managing schools from the last 70 years. Pant, Amatya and Maisaheb schools, which are very popular in Kolhapur. Whoever I've spoken to Kolhapur, whenever I've been there, people know them as very prestigious schools. And Nitu ma'am also has been involved in teaching and training of teachers in various parts of Maharashtra as well. Then we are also joined today with Mr. Amol Joshi and Mrs. Sayali Joshi, who are managing the IMS group of schools here in Sholapur district. And IMS schools are considered to be very, very prestigious. They are now running multiple schools in various different locations as well. They have branched out in a big way, and they are managing schools in Sholapur district, Pune and Mumbai as well. And they are covering a large student base with managing a huge army of teachers. So all of these people who are with us, all of these eminent scholars who are with us, have a long history of schools, running them, managing them as well. So thank you everyone, and welcome all of you to this discussion today. So I think going forward, I think I would first let's address the elephant in the room, the pandemic situation. How has it impacted your schools? How has it been with you? Let's start with JP Singh sir. So how is the pandemic faring with you?
Yeah, good morning to everyone, and it's a pleasure to meet you all. My last time the school was running was till March 25th. After that, there was a lockdown, and we are still not yet opened yet. Now, from last 1 week to 10 days, we have invited few teachers to come to school to find out what exactly we can do and how we should manage. And many of the teachers have expressed their opinion that they would do online classes from their home rather than come to the school. The only reason is, in school there are thousands of students coming, teachers, about 150 teachers I have. So if even one of them gets infected, the whole school will be under lockdown. and we don't know how to manage that. So I agreed with them, and I think from Monday onwards, the teachers would be taking online classes from their home rather than come to the school. And the second challenge that I'm facing is collection of the fees. Parents have not paid, a couple of them, about 10 to 15% have not paid the last year's fees. And this year I'm hardly, just not even 5% have paid the fees. So paying the salaries has become a big challenge. So this is what I'm facing right now. But I think the pandemic is going to continue for another few months or maybe longer. So this is going to be a challenge to not only my school, but to every private schools. That's my opinion.
Neel ma'am and Nitu ma'am?
Yeah, Neel would start first.
Yeah, please.
Good morning. What we have done is, like as he said, we stopped our school in March 20th.
Yeah.
Since then, we have taken the decision to start online training of teachers. So this is continuing since the last 1 month. There's been intensive teacher training of around 100 of our staff in the school. So they've been trained in Zoom. They've been trained to pick up material like YouTube videos, make their own PowerPoint presentations, then make their own the simple teaching along with the interactive videos, which will make children interested. So that is one part. So our 10th standard has started on the 1st of June, and on 15th the rest of our school will start. And regarding the fees also, it's quite similar that around 10% of our fees are pending since the last year. And this year, slowly people have started paying the fees, but the government directions are such that they are discouraging people to pay fees. Even those who can afford paying fees, they are getting discouraged not to pay the fees. But which doesn't make sense, as we are already starting with the education from 15th. So it should, of course, we will be giving them payments in to make payments fees in parts. So that is okay, but not paying the fees can't be the solution. Like you get to learn also online. In fact, teachers have taken so much efforts to see that the lessons are made interesting. We have the curriculum ready for the next 2 months on the online platform, and which is very much interesting, and which teachers have taken double efforts to see that it is prepared in such a manner that it will be interactive and interesting to the students. So this is the part like where we stand right now.
Nitu ma'am, you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, Neel and Jaiprakash sir was talking about fees and all, but that is not my part to work with. I want to work with the curriculum, and Neel took care of that. So curriculum was like, I always been working with my teachers, taking changes. So in some few years back, 5 years back, we were working with a traditional way of teaching. And meanwhile, I learned constructivism in education. It took me 5 years to change my school. Now you can see anytime you come to the school and see all the classes are learning with constructivism, where it's a new trend in education. And all of a sudden I get a new way where we planned everything properly and about to deliver. The lessons are all postmortem thing is done in my school. And next morning I get to know that school is going to stop, and then get to know that I need to change from one phase to constructivism and from there to technology. Now, another challenge for me to teach all my teachers, make them techno savvy. Yeah, of course, some of them, the young teachers are quite okay with that. But the old teachers, although we have a mixed crowd, like some people are quite old in the school. So my training session started. I decided to do it the next morning. I knew that this has to happen in the school. Then I said that even if this thing goes off, the corona thing goes off, but we will have one weapon in our hand. It will not go waste some or the other way. If I teach my teacher, that's an additional asset to the school again. So next morning we started training all teachers. Yes, I knew that the government was saying that don't allow crowd in the school and things like that. But fortunately, we had a big new hall ready where we could keep lots of distance with the mask and taking lots of precautions. I trained all my teachers, 100 teachers almost for 2 months using technology. Yeah, so like using Zoom with mobile, using Zoom on a laptop, then A to Z and Kind Master, and then craft something. So lots of different apps I introduced them. But now I feel teachers, I just say the next morning, I say, I have got to know the new app, just explore. And teacher can do it very quickly because they are in the stream of technology.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, we are ready. We are not scared. All the challenges come to education field.
Yeah.
And like it or don't like it, you have to face them happily and just go through.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you.
Good.
Amol sir and Sayali ma'am.
Yeah, actually, I would like to add that COVID-19 situation has in fact opened up a world of opportunities for us also to become more techno-savvy. And whatever we were planning for the year, we were delivering the things in a conventional mode. And even the teachers were not too keen on using technology for the most part of the time. As Nitu ma'am has said, Neel Singh sir, everyone, that we are now moving towards a technology based situation. And this thing will continue despite even after Corona situation, COVID situation ends. Things are going to continue. And in one way, it is a blessing also for us, specifically for taking care of the, say, slow learners or the average and slightly the kids who are in between the average and the lower average range. So this situation will definitely help us. Of course, considering the monetary aspect of this, I second with all of them. Schools are going to face a huge problem of fees collection this year. Added to it, the various circulars, the ambiguity in all the circulars, the stand taken by education officers in contravention to the things mentioned in the circular. So many things are going to happen. So it's this is a good platform, in fact, to let parents know that so many efforts are going on done by the management of the school. The teachers, specifically, they are taking huge efforts to learn this technology and deliver it to them. For us, as we said, we also started with the teacher training session. Of course, we did it online. And 5th April, the last whole month of April, now 5th April to say 5th May, we continued with online videos. We had sent videos to all kids, let's say like right from pre-primary to standard 12. Smaller videos and less number of videos for the younger ones. And the higher version, more duration videos for the elder ones. Plus live sessions to Google Meet. That was another aspect which we followed.
Actually, this was like a challenge to our teachers also, because most of the staff is our ladies. So 90% ladies staff is there in our school also, and at home also mothers are there. So we have to help our children to adopt all these new facilities, new technology. So it was quite difficult mode, means like teachers and students, new Google Meet and Zoom app and live lectures, online teaching, that all was little difficult. But now I think we are doing quite good with all that.
Fantastic.
And as I said, this is means little difficult situation related to fees also, because people are thinking like means school is like little, I should not say like that, but school is little hobby classes or what, means when it is going on, we should pay.
Yeah.
When it is now means they are not going to go to school.
Yeah.
So we should pay or no, that idea is not that much clear, I think.
Nice. Of course, I like like Amolji also said, this is an opportunity for schools to now reorient themselves, and Nitu ma'am added to it the fact that teacher training could be a big thing going forward. But I have to ask a very pertinent question from a management perspective, because the pandemic situation might continue maybe for the next 6 months. Nobody knows, So there is no clarity as to when the schools will physically reopen. I know many people, I know many managements who have spent a lot of money trying to up the infrastructure of schools. They have spent maybe crores of rupees building new buildings or setting up new infrastructure, creating more facilities for the students, and suddenly it is all just sitting there going to waste. So from that perspective, and also from the perspective of a child's experience of going to a school, meeting friends, having in that whole school experience, that is also not something that is they're experiencing as a break there as well. So what do you all feel as to what should be a tentative day of reopening the schools, or should it open at all this year or not? I'll start with JP Singh sir again.
Yeah, in fact, I was reading one article in the Hindu paper, I think 2 days back. They want to have what is called as a zero school days. They don't want the schools to be open, especially parents of younger classes. The Ministry of Human Department, they're saying that they are likely to open sometime in middle of August or September. That's what they are saying, but we don't know. In fact, in Telangana, in Hyderabad, the COVID cases have gone up since last 1 week, 10 days when it opened up. Now the death rates have, and also the people who are infected has gone up. So I don't think it is wise to start the school anytime soon until this whole thing settles down, because if one child is infected, he is going to infect the whole school, because in a class, even if you're having social distancing, these children, they keep meeting their friends, running around, meeting the teachers will infect the other teachers. So the whole school will get affected, even if there's 1 or 2 cases. So it is my opinion that as far as possible to have online classes without direct contact, because as a parent, if I'm sending my child to the school who is say 5 years old or 6 years old, I'll be scared of sending him, because eventually the life is more important than education. So it is better that this year we do most of it online until there is some cure or there is some relief from this pandemic. And secondly, the children are going to suffer anyhow, because schooling is a place where you build up your social emotions, social bonding. It is not just learning the 3 R's. It is how you make friends. You learn all this other skills like emotional skills, social skills, apart from IQ. So this is my take.
Thank you. Neel sir, Nitu ma'am.
What I've seen, it's in the newspapers and some news that government is planning to open, it's not substantiated, but government plans to start the classes from 9th to 12th by July end. The middle school in August and the primaries in September. That's come in some news, but it's not substantiated. Also, that is for the government of Maharashtra. Also, there have been some directions coming, which is not yet reached the school, but they say that these directions might come in a few days, that government would not allow pre-primary and the first and second classes to be taught online. So they will ban teaching online, online learning from pre-primary to standard second. They will be implementing how many hours should be taught for, it's I think 1 hour for students from 3rd to 5th, then 2 hours from 6th to 8th, and 3 hours 9 to 10th. So that's what might come in the next few days. That's what I've come to learn from some sources.
Nitu ma'am, you want to add something?
As Jaiprakash sir said, even I am not ready to start the school, because any single thing happens in the school, the first thing comes to the teachers. Whatever good thing happens in society is teacher, bad thing happens is teacher. So we don't want to take the responsibility. In fact, even if we start the school, we might take the consignment from the parents saying that I'm sending my child with my own risk. And then we won't know which child is a carrier or which teacher is a carrier. So it's better that we do not start the school immediately. But then online teaching is a wonderful thing. We are really enjoying this. As Amol Joshi sir and his wife were talking about that students would be difficult, how would they take it? But my experience is that we always try some new program in the school, and we have to think about three people. One is parents, teacher, and then student. This time, when it's adoption of technology, I'm not worried about this. Last end is students. They are much more smarter than us. They can adopt this. In fact, they're born with technology. And when we started our online classes, they are like, all the best, teacher. Just put your mic little away so we can hear. And out of 40, we could see almost everybody present every day and interacting very well. So that it's always running a school is teen payachi sharia time. So parents, teacher, and student. This time, students are absolutely okay with us. Teachers are no option. We try doing it, and teachers have to learn new things, and they are ready with it. Now the problem, the third leg for us is our parent. त्यांना खूप साऱ्या ठिकाणातून वेगवेगळी माहिती कळते and they're confused. Sometimes they feel की screen time नको आहे. And then otherwise, even if school is not providing online teaching, they are with screen, something or the other.
Yeah.
You cannot stop that. So anyhow, if school is giving screen time, so let's adopt new things. You have to run with new things. I think parents are more challenging for us, even if it's the relation between teacher and student. But the real people who take decision for anyone is the parent, and our job is to convince them. Now the people were saying that online teaching, you used to teach 6 hours, and now just 50 minutes, one lecture, and physically not using the school, and you don't want to pay and all those things. But in this situation, they have to understand, if you want to fly, all this time we were going in a car, now you want to fly in an aeroplane, you have to pay a little more. Isn't it? You have to, because teachers are running all the time the car, and now they have taken lots of effort. It's not easy teaching in a class without students just looking at the camera and making it interactive. So it's quite difficult and challenging job, and you must adopt. It's no question whether you want to adopt or no. You have to.
No choice.
And then, yes, no choice for us. No choice for the parents. They take little time. I think always they're confused about the parenting, about having the new things in the thing. And that confusion is always dangerous. I think they should be focused. Somebody should guide them. Yes, it will take time, but
I'll add one thing.
Yeah.
It is like what I have seen in the school. The teachers need less time to teach the same lesson what they've been teaching in the classroom.
Yes.
So some schools I've seen, they have been running online classes for 6 hours. I think that is too much.
Yeah.
It's not needed, absolutely not needed. So according to what government directions I've just mentioned, I think that should be ideal. That is very small children, 1 hour, middle school about 2 hours, and the high school 3 hours. I think that should be sufficient for now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Amol sir,
Yeah. Physically, as we discussed just now, the school shouldn't start until we get completely assured that such instances won't happen. So it's a long time for the schools to start physically. Even if government issues instructions regarding the same, we as managements have to make doubly sure, like taking consent letters from the parents, that in case some mishap happens, it should not come on us. So that is the thing that the schools physically still, we think it's still a long time for them to start actually. Online, yes, as we said, most of the schools have already started teaching online. So I think we should go in the same way, that the schools are open, they are not closed now. We are open already. So online education is there, is going to be there. And as Neel sir also was saying, the duration is required is less as compared to the practical physical coaching. Like say 3 hours, even for the senior students, it's enough, because they get more time again to do their self-study. Plus, if you use tools like Google Classroom, which we have already started using since the last month, we get all the assignments, tests, homeworks, everything is possible. So it's just a replica of the conventional school. Now, as we all know, the school is a learning experience altogether, meeting friends and everything. That obviously can't be replicated anywhere. But right now we are faced with a situation where there is no other option. Regarding parents thing, I would like to add one more reason they are opposing online is that they are feeling that the schools are using it as a ploy to demand fees from them. So specifically after the Delhi High Court decision came that schools which were running online classes can ask for fees, they immediately started the trend that don't want online also, so that if we don't teach anything online, we can save on at least 4 months fees, 6 months fees. That's another ploy done by the parents. It's not that the parents are not understanding the benefits of online or that they are against the screen time. Because in any house, if you go, I hardly doubt that you will find a child which doesn't have 3 hours or who doesn't use 3 hours of screen time, whether it be television or whether it be mobile games or anything in normal course also. So using the same thing for education shouldn't matter, and parents also know it very well, but they're just using it as a ploy that in case they oppose everything, then might be they can save on some 4-5 months fees.
Yes, I'm totally agree with sir. People are thinking like that. If we can save at least half terms first terms fees also. So we are waiting for government's proper directions also and proper SOP also. So we are thinking means after 3-4 months we can start actual physical school, that too for 2-3 hours only. Until that we can continue with our online education.
Nice.
One
Online
more
education,
issue.
of course. Sorry, sir.
Wow. The other day, one parent was saying, I have 3 children and I have only 1 smartphone. And how do you expect me to get 2 more
that's my next question, sir. That's my next question, because there are many households have said that both the parents might have to go back to work now. The children are going to be at home. Who is going to look after them when we are not there? How are we going to manage that part? Because in the urban areas, that is a big problem with working parents who don't seem to find a solution, who don't have anybody else at home. They would ideally send the children to school, go off to work, finish work, come back, pick up the kids and bring them back home as well. That is going to be a big issue for them, that now they have to leave the children behind all alone and they can't really manage that. Plus availability of multimedia devices like smartphones, laptops for multiple children. I mean, if there are 2 or 3 siblings in the same house, how are they going to access these classes at the same time? And that's going to be another challenge, because then the parent has to now not only pay the school fees, but they have to also now go and invest in this hardware as well.
Hardware, yes.
Secondly, they have to get oriented themselves, that children are to make sure that they don't diverge in their online experience. So they are restricted to the school experience. Giving them a smartphone, giving them a multimedia gadget now is also a risky exposing them to internet in a way that they would not be very happy also. Third important point that I wanted to ask was that in the rural areas, it's an even bigger challenge, because when we are talking about schools, we're not talking about the only urban pockets in our region. We are talking about schools overall. And here, like in our part, we are in a semi-rural area. Many parents have said that there is absolutely no bandwidth to play Zoom at all. So there is no way Zoom works in many parts of the where they are living. So to have internet access there itself is a challenge. And going forward, that might not be something that they would be opting for. That online is not at all an option for them. So what do you suggest for all of these issues? How then can online be fixed in all of this? Unavailability of devices, nobody to look after the kids, and thirdly, sheer no network or no device at all. How do they access this, sir? JP Singh?
Exactly as what you're doing right now, recording and then send it to them. You record the lectures and then send it to them. They can view it at their leisure on whenever they have time, plus when there is internet with low speed. Because many of them, in my school, I have taken the help of one company that produces all this content. It's called Flowbook, and they have all the content. So my teachers need not spend too much time in making the content. So using that platform, they're doing very well. And the students can also access the same platform. So one with the teacher and one at their home, they can revise those those classes. So So basically what you're doing is the same thing. When there's a bandwidth is less, and record it and put it online or put it on this thing where they can access it.
Yeah, specifically in rural areas like Akkalkot, where you are located, it's the same thing happening.
Big issue, yeah.
We have made it in a way that we are providing these lectures on pen drive also. So if we give them on a pen drive, they can play it on a normal television, and then no need for them to have a separate access to internet. So that's one way we have tried to solve this problem, wherein we have range problem issues or cell phone issues. So that can be one solution for this.
And little we can think of teaching 100% syllabus or 30% or 40%, the very important part from our syllabus. This year at least we can go with that. That idea is better. And the important material we can provide in pen drives also. So like that in rural areas, if we can think positively, then it will work.
Okay. Neel sir, Nitu ma'am?
Yeah, what I think is that one thing is that all the rural areas are not so much affected by coronavirus. The green zones where there is not so much of the virus spread, I think mostly in ZP schools or the government schools, as it is, the student strength is very less. So the local tehsildar or the collector can take a decision where there is no corona infections. With a low student strength, I think they should be able to start at actuals. So no need to actually start with online learning where in that village or in that tehsil, if there is absolutely no corona, and we'll find I think many companies will come forward with new tabs at a low cost and again giving those on installments. And in the rural areas and the ZP schools, I think the government, as it is spending very less on education, so they have to make a provision in future that such a thing is integrated into the rural education scenario or the government scenario, where the tabs is available to the student on installments. So this has to be a long-term decision from the government. So I think the working that should start now. But in any case, right now, this Bharat and India divide is going to be a little more for the coming few days at least, until the government fixes these things. That difference is going to be there, and it's practically we say a lot of things, but practically it will be very difficult to bridge this divide in this coming months.
Ma'am, you want to add something?
I have a little different opinion. I would say Corona आमच्या आयुष्यात स्वल्प विरामासारखा आलाय. It's not full stop for us. It's going to take little time. Don't get panic. Meanwhile, we are using online and tabs and things. Schools like my school or Joshi sir's schools, we can afford. All this time, we were just thinking about us. आमच्या शाळेचं काय होणार? आम्ही कसं पैसे करतो? We could do that. We could afford to do that. We are into education for a very long time, and all of a sudden, one person comes from Gaganbada and tells me I am a teacher in that school. Madam, आमच्याकडे ranges येतले. For example, we were not connected to you for 2 minutes, and we were like, oh my God, it's gone. It takes time. And then it just loses your interest. Rural एरियातल्या मुलांना याचं कनेक्शन होत नाही, ते चक्रच फिरत राहिलं खूप वेळ. Then there's no point. So rural area मध्ये टेक्नॉलॉजी जाणं, ते येणं. So before some time I remember की प्रत्येक क्लासला डिजिटल क्लासरूम करायचं. Rotary and all these people giving them this computer and screen and everything. Nothing working. I think that's not their need. So technology त्यांच्यापर्यंत पोहोचण्याची कुठली पण चांगली गोष्ट overnight नाही होणार आहे. I know that technology is to be adopted. We could adopt it in 1 week. Joshi sir could adopt in 1 day. And Singh sir could adopt it very quickly. कारण आमची नाही आहे. So I don't think खेड्यातल्या लोकांना झट येणार आहे. It is going to take time. Over the period हे थांबणार पण आहे. कारण आम्ही सगळे म्हणतो की हा स्वल्प विराम आहे. असे हजारो रोग आलेले आहेत. स्वाईन फ्लू वॉज देअर. तेव्हा काही झालं नाही. पुन्हा अगेन वी वर बॅक टू रुटीन. आमच्याकडे कोल्हापूर फ्लड्स मध्ये वी वर देअर फॉर ऑलमोस्ट 1 month. आणि कुठं युनिव्हर्सिटी लेवलचा अभ्यास चाललाय. लेट देम रिलॅक्स. आय वुड से कुठं नाही जाणार आहे अभ्यास. शेवटी वी आर गिव्हिंग इन्फॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम द स्कूल, सिंथेसाइजिंग इट at their end, creating colleges at their end. They will do संपल्यानंतर we can start. आता सुद्धा मी online classes चालू केले. One parent was like fighting की मला नाही होत, as JP sir said that just need 2 or 3 mobile because person has got. We have scheduled in such a way that play group is in the morning and junior is this and senior is like, and then everybody can use one mobile kind of thing. We could do that because we know our parents and strength is less.
Yeah.
पण प्रत्येक ठिकाणी हे शक्य नाही होणार आहे आणि चांगल्या गोष्टी ओव्हरनाईट होत नाही. It will take time and I believe it will come. Yes, it will happen.
I would like to add, काही ZP schools वगैरे अशा आहेत where the parents send their children because तिथं दुपारी जेवायला भात मिळतो,
मिड डे मील मिळतं.
The condition of rural India, बऱ्याचशा ठिकाणी they go to schools because they get meals. That is a motivation for them. अशा ठिकाणी ही टेक्नॉलॉजी येणं, I don't see that in the instant future. Things might be difficult for such kind of schools and it will be really difficult for those students also. Right.
The point I was trying to make is that, like I said, I was trying to play a devil's advocate here. I'm thinking from the parent's perspective now, because the concept of online education has brought into India the concept of homeschooling now, which was not available before. Like you said, for the rural areas, I was just telling them that there's a talk that they might come up with TV channels where NCRT will create the content on their end and beam it through television channels for each different state board, also through FM radios. The same would be broadcast over radio as well, so the child could be able to get a transistor and hear what is being said as well. What this is going to do is open up Pandora's box, wherein now for a parent, if I'm taking from parent's perspective, why do I need a school anymore? If I have the opportunity of learning, keeping my child safe in the home, deciding who he or she mingles with, decide everything, design the child's entire upbringing the way I would have ideally wanted to do, because I was pushed to go send them to schools. Before this, I had to send them to school, so I chose which school, this school, that school, paid heavy donations to make sure I send them to exclusive schools. If that is taken out of the picture, if education is something that becomes so undervalued now that it is available on a tab, which was a very completely Western concept. I mean, in the Western world, I had seen a lot of times when I travel there, I meet parents who say, we have been home teaching our children for generations now. We have never sent our children to schools. They have always been home trained, home taught, and they're doing great in their line of work, whatever they have chosen to do. If this trend comes into India, how do you look at it? If homeschooling becomes the new norm, and even if tomorrow, like we all say, hey, schools are open, everybody will come back, and parents say, okay, no, thank you, we are doing fine here now. What do you think of that scenario, JP Singh?
What you said may happen, but my take is it won't be more than 5%.
Okay.
Because, as I said, schooling is not just for reading, writing, and arithmetic. See, you learn a lot of social skills, which you can't in homeschooling. And I'll tell you, some of my best friends are from school, not from a college.
Yeah.
Because the bonding that you make with your friends at that young age will last for a lifetime. So, school has so many other aspects, not
but
just
academic-wise.
Academic-wise, yes, you said it can be homeschooling on YouTube. So you can have so many, like Byju's is having a lot of apps. So parent has a choice, but for an overall development of a child, you should have sports. You should have other curriculums like music, dance, interaction with fellow students. That is not possible with homeschooling. So for a complete personality development, for a holistic development of the child, I think it is better that they go to a school, where they can find other venues other than academics, sports. How can they play cricket or football online, except for video games? So all that is not possible with online. It has its own limitations. It's not a cure-all for everything.
So it's a stopgap arrangement. That's what you say.
Yeah, it's just because of this pandemic, and people are scared of getting infected. This may last for another 6 months or maximum 1 year. After that, everything is going to come back to normal.
Nitu ma'am?
Yes. I've been always dreaming of my school. Every 10 years, I change my dream about my school. So before, when I joined my school, I wanted to turn it into constructivism, where teaching is like no more school. So my motto was no more school is for teaching, but for learning, work towards it. And now it's the new challenge for me that when I came back from Finland, I was like, I want to see my school with tabs. I could see children doing that very well, learning languages, and all that was fascinating for me. But now I see another dream of my school after 10 years, what my school would be. I think the academic should be taken care by the tabs and online teaching and all those things. I'm sure Baiju can do it, Khan's Academy can do it very well, better than us. They use the animation, 4Ds and all those things. Children learn with their own space and everything. But then that doesn't mean the school will stop. As Singh sir said, that now we need to change the inside of the school. So like would come to the school playing, learning manipulation, working with team, getting adjusted, learning stage daring, learning manners, all the different skills. So as a school owner, I would say the schools will not like they will not come to an end, but then they need to change the internal system.
Yeah.
For example, last year my child was in 10th standard and I did homeschooling. So this is the biggest slap on my face that the owner of the school has left the school just because he wanted to do homeschooling on his own. And I told him that you will not have classes, but you have to learn on your own. And he just downloaded Baiju's app and then Khan's Academy he was doing, and he was playing badminton on his own. So social development, I asked him, what about your social development? He's in 10th standard, so he could interact with me. And then he said that anyhow, in the classroom, you're not allowed to talk to each other. No social development. If you sit in the class, put seat belts and teacher is talking. So anyway, I go on my ground and I play there and lots of social development. And then you can go to the school. He said, I can go for sport day, I can go for gathering, I can go for school. And the last line that he said that when I will become a father, I will not let my child go to the school. And that, oh my God, after 20 years, this might happen. Children might start like this. And then he said, if your school, I said, not even my school, grandmother's school. He said, if your school is providing something different and special and creative, then I'm ready to put my child.
Yeah.
So then my eyes were open and then I was like, yes, I need to have that Amir Khan's school where children are learning something new, knowledge, making knowledge. And if I don't change that, I'm sure after many years, it's not just 1 year after that, but after 20 years, we will not be floating in this field otherwise. We have to change according to the requirement. That's what I feel. Yes.
Of course, this will be there. The homeschooling will come. As 5%, I don't think even 5% of the parents would take this, as you call a daring step to do a homeschooling, which it's a lot of responsibility on them.
Yeah.
If the child blames them after 10 years that I have not been taught, it's a very bold decision for the parents to take homeschooling because it's a lot of responsibility on them. And looking at the population of India, I don't think this will have impact on the schools for the next 15-20 years at least. Because,
no, as you said, there's a lot of responsibility on the parent.
Yeah.
Only some educated parents can take that chance. But majority of them are working and they cannot devote that time for their child to do homeschooling.
Amol sir?
Yeah. So as we said that as we teach our students that change is the only thing which is constant.
Yeah.
So we have to change with times. As regarding homeschooling, you also know that homeschooling requires at least 10 times more efforts by parents than regular schooling. So that becomes possible only if the parents too are dedicated and convinced towards homeschooling. Like if we see our say national level winners in say swimming, lawn tennis kids, you find that parents are almost putting 50% efforts as the kids are putting. Then only they can become national level winners. You see it in every field, every aspect that expects for some group games. If you go for individual events, you find many people giving up their careers for their kids' things. So that happens in homeschooling too. If they want the homeschooling to succeed, they have to put most of their lives into it. So it will be for a very few people. Some may like this idea and go after it. But as coming back to as Nitu also said, schools should turn into a center not only for students, but it should be a center for parents, teachers, and students. Right now, parents' involvement, I have a perspective on that, is that right now parents' involvement is limited only to the PTA meetings. Very few attend hardly, and they put all the onus on the teachers. So when we say that parents, teachers, and students are three legs of the tripod, so they are not at all involved much in that. So schools can convert into a learning center and basically a union point for all these three groups. So ideally, we can have so big premises, so huge spaces, which are used for a shorter duration of time, which can be converted into mass learning centers. And as a holistic approach, we can undertake many activities using this school. Obviously, and as the thing goes, the smaller schools, the schools which are not providing quality education, they are bound to suffer in some way. But schools which are providing quality education, they can in fact prosper from this decision.
Here I would like to say few words in Marathi also. की आपल्याला पूर्वापार आपली जी संस्कृती चालत आलेली आहे की आपल्याकडे गुरुकुल पद्धती असायची की मुलं ही शाळेत शिकायला म्हणजे त्या गुरूंच्या आश्रमात आपण पाठवत होतो. यालाही काही कारण होती. ऍज सर सिंग सर सेड की त्यांची मेंटल आणि फिजिकल दोन्ही अटॅच व्हायला पाहिजे, स्कूलशी रिलेशन मध्ये असायला पाहिजे. तर आता आपण बघितलं की आता थोड्या दिवसाचा जर प्रश्न असेल या सिच्युएशन मध्ये, कोविडच्या सिच्युएशन मध्ये, तर आपण एरियाजचा विचार करतोय की तिथे नेटचा प्रॉब्लेम असणार आहे, वायफाय नसणार आहे. मग हा विचार तर थोडासा लांबचा असेल किंवा ऍज मॅम सेड की एक 15-20 वर्षांनंतर की मला वाटतं म्हणजे जेव्हा आपण आजी आजोबा या कंडिशन मध्ये येऊ अजून एक थोड्या वर्षांनी, तेव्हा टोटल ऑनलाईन स्कूल हे सगळेजण ऍक्सेप्ट करतील. पण आता जे आपले आई बाबा, जे आपले आजी आजोबा आहेत, त्यांचा सगळ्यांचा आणि पूर्ण समाजालाच घेऊन जर आपण असा विचार केला तर इट शुड बी अ मिक्सिंग ऑफ ऑनलाईन अँड ऑफलाईन. म्हणजे ऑनलाईन स्कूल सुद्धा हवं आणि मुलांनी शाळेत जायला सुद्धा पाहिजे. कारण दोन्ही कॉम्बिनेशन केलं तरच मुलांची प्रॉपर त्यांची फ्रेंडशिप, त्यांचं सराउंडिंग आणि मेंटल वाढ पण त्यांची प्रॉपर होणार आहे. नाही तर म्हटल्यासारखं वायफायचं प्रॉब्लेम असणार आहे. जेव्हा आपल्या महाराष्ट्रामधली खेडी सुद्धा व्यवस्थित छान म्हणजे वायफाय कनेक्शन किंवा पुढे जातील, प्रगत होतील, त्यावेळेस आपल्याला पूर्ण ऑनलाईन स्कूल करायची का हा विचार करायला लागणार आहे. अदरवाईज आता आपली सिटी मधली रुरल एरियाज आणि सिटी एरियाज मध्ये हा गॅप येऊ शकेल असं मला वाटतं. त्याच्यामुळे ऑनलाईन स्कूलिंग प्रॉपर नसावं.
Even I would like to add कि in schools like Pune and Mumbai, where the commuting time is so huge, like 1 hour, 1.5 hours, even with school buses, kids take to move to schools. That can be or might be that will reduce if such type of schooling takes place, where we can say intelligent planning of the school timing and activity. These also thoughts can be considered overall.
One point that I feel when we have been interacting with parents here in our schools, many parents are more eager ki when are you starting the school, please reopen the school, the children are driving us mad at home. They want the children to get out of the home for some time so that they can little peace of mind at least. Okay, so one point that I want to also discuss was the point that everybody raised, all of us raised here, about the payment of fees. From now, there has been what is called as the so-called commercialization of education, is what something that gets discussed so much that people have started to believe that education is a commercial perspective now. Education is not a sector, education is an industry now, and that is something that was unfortunate from my end, because people started looking at education as service industry. You are paying the fee for that month to get service for your child's education. It's no longer that I am sending my child to a school thinking about a long-term perspective. I am sending my child to a school by paying a lot of money, and that might have happened at some schools where they did charge exorbitantly, or they may have done some malpractices, but that gets branded across the sector. I mean, everybody gets that blame that all of the schools and all of the school managements are in it for the money, they are in it for the business, and school fees is something that the parent has to chug up or pay out unnecessarily at many times. You know, that is something that they feel in a many times we discuss, like JP sir said, the past fees has to come in, and many parents said, but I never sent my child to that school. For 2 months, when you are asking me for the last year's fees, the child never went to school. So why am I paying for school fees that the child never utilized? So it's as if I'm paying rent for going somewhere, and that rent shouldn't be paid when my child is not there. You know, that is the feeling. The taking of the fees is of course challenging for the management also, but isn't it a more challenging for the teacher now? I mean, the teacher is a part of the education system that is under the greatest stress, because he or she is not sure about the possibility of school reopening. They have to reorient themselves to this whole online concept. They have to learn new trade all over again. They have to learn the software, they have to learn the apps, they have to learn how to be mobile savvy all the time. And most importantly, they are unsure about their job security, that are they going to have a job going forward or not? Are they going to be paid salaries for this month, last month, next month or not? And in this scenario, I think the parents are not aware of what is happening on that front. So I would want all of you to address that. How is a teacher experiencing this situation? We discussed it from the parent side. We discussed it from the students. Maybe we'll discuss a little bit more also. But for the teacher, because also I heard many parents say that if online is going to be the learning mode, why do I need your teachers? I would go to Byju's instead. You know, they are free, or I'll pay some fees for some paid app online. There are so many of these online education portals now, and they have fantastic 3D imaging and all of that. Your teachers are sitting in front of the camera and speaking, which is not fun. So in that background, when parents are now thinking on those lines also, how is the teacher responding to all of this? JP Singh sir?
I think in this whole scenario, teachers are the most affected.
Yeah.
See, from last 2-3 months, I've been only paying 50% of the salary. So this month also, through great difficulty, I'm paying half the salary. So their salary has been cut. And next month, we don't know how things are going to change, if the parents are going to pay the fees or not. So definitely teachers are economically hurt a lot. And as you said, they have to become technologically savvy. They have to learn new things. I think as Mr. Amol was saying, only thing constant is change. They have to upgrade themselves if they have to be in this field. So, but definitely teachers are the one who are hurt the most.
Because
both psychologically, as you know,
yeah.
I mean, teachers, they bond very well with their colleagues. So that is not possible. Plus there's a financial strain that they have to go through. So all this puts a lot of psychological stress on them. So definitely they'll be needing counseling. Apart from the students, the teachers will need counseling.
Exactly. You know? Also, I think many teachers also complain that because of the economic loss and stress is so much that they have to now get underpaid and overperform.
Yeah.
You know, and many times parents feel that the schools have huge cash reserves. You have crores of rupees lying around with you. You should be able to sustain for year, 2 years without us paying fees at all. I mean, that is the general feeling with parents, that the schools are so cash heavy that they don't need fees every month to pay the salaries. They don't understand this part, I think.
See, one more thing, as you said, you know, the schools have become a status symbol. If I send my son to some XYZ international school, so-called international school, that, oh, I can afford to send my child. I'm quite well-to-do. So, and in my friends, in my relatives, that become the status symbol. So actually, schools are not meant for that. What is the purpose of education? And most of the teaching, the current setup of schools started from 19th century.
Yeah.
Before that, it was all father to son. You know, whatever trade he was passing on generation to generation. And only the elite class went to schools like, you know, Mahabharata and all the Pandavas and the Kauravas, they went to the Gurukul. The rest of them, they did their own work. Their fathers, if they were farmers, the children learned how to farm. If his father was a carpenter, they learned how to do carpentry. So whatever trade their parents were doing, the children learned. That was their schooling. The parents were the main teachers. So this concept of schooling started with the Britishers. They wanted to create clerks. They wanted to create people who can follow their instruction. It's not a creative schooling. So as Madam was saying, and Nitu Madam, the schools have to become creative, not only creative in teaching, but also making the students creative, problem solving skills. There's so many skills that the 21st century skills, what they call it, has to be there. So that has to be taught to the students. If the schools have to be successful and the students have to be successful. If students are successful, the school will become successful. So they are the brand ambassador for the schools.
Neetu ma'am? For the teachers?
Yeah, for the teachers, yes. It's like a family for us, the teachers. We are 100 teachers together and very much connected because I'm a teacher too in the school.
Yeah.
So they do understand that I understand their problem. So when we were going through all this phase, I had a meeting with all my principals and explaining them that this is the situation. 1 month fee I've paid it from my own pocket. Okay, I can do that. 2 months I could pay that, and then now it's not possible for me to pay everybody's fees. Everybody is suffering, including me. Yes, even I'm paid half because I'm working as a teacher in the school. So it's like I told them की तुम्हाला सगळ्यांनाच 50% मिळणार आहेत. मे बी पुढच्या महिन्यात, त्याच्या पुढच्या महिन्यात मिळणार आहेत. आणि एकदा का स्कूल चालू झाली आणि सगळं वेळेत जर आलं, ओके झालं, तर माझ्याकडे तुमचे 3 महिन्याचे 50-50, 150% मी देणं आहे तुमचं. पण जर का नाही आले, तर then all of us have to suffer, including me, you, all the people. So I tried to do little counseling for them, and then I said, yeah, swalpaviram ahe, hoil baro. I have to put positivity in my teachers, and त्यांना दुसरंही टास्क आहे to become techno savvy. Okay, plus हे एक आहे. Worst part was teachers were little okay, आम्ही करू 1-2-3 महिने, नाहीतरी कुठं बाहेर जाणार नाहीये, बाहेरचं रेस्टॉरंटला जाताच येत नाही, we will manage little bit. I was worried about non-teaching staff, ज्यांचं घर चालतंय, त्यांना 50% देणं माझ्याच जीवावर आलं होतं की 4-5 हजार रुपये झाडू मारणारी बाई आहे, तिला मी कट डाऊन केलं. ती काय मेंटेनिंग लाईफस्टाईल तिला तर अवघडच आहे सगळं गोष्ट. त्या 5,000चं 2,500 केल्यानंतर खायचं सुद्धा अवघड होणार आहे ह्या स्टाफ. जनरली गेट अफेक्टेड जो लोअर क्लास आहे, आम्ही काही ना काही ऍडजस्ट करू, काय थोडं बाहेर कमी जाऊ, नाहीतरी गाडी ड्राईव्ह नाही होत आहे, सो पेट्रोलचं सेव्ह झालंय वगैरे वगैरे. लिटल 2-3 महिन्यासाठी दे आर रेडी. पण लॉंग टर्मनी चालू झालं तर टीचर्स आर गोना बी रिअली अफेक्टेड. आणि मग शेवटी काय, कोणाचे काही पण म्हणा, किती सायकोलॉजी शिकवा, किती आकाशातलं ज्ञान सांगा, शेवटी याच्याशी गणित येत नाही ना, याच्याशी आणि याच्याशी गणित येणारच आहे. टीचर्स किती दिवस हे सस्टेन करतील. आणि मी जेव्हा कन्स्ट्रक्टिव्हिझम म्हणत होते तेव्हा मी माझ्या स्पीच मध्ये नेहमी म्हणायचे की टीचर लोक तुम्ही नाही बदलला तर तुमच्या पोटावर पाय येणार आहेत, मुलं आपल्याला सोडून जाणार आहेत. आय केप्ट सेइंग दिस टू माय टीचर्स. त्यामुळे तुम्ही आवडं अगर न आवडं यू हॅव टू चेंज, कारण सगळं बदलतंय. Now again I say the same thing to my teachers की नाही केलं तर पोटावर पाय येणार आहे. So my teachers are like, yes, we need to do it. I show them 20 years after. I try my best to do all these things. They change quickly. सगळे चेंजेस येतील, सगळं मान्य, पण पैशाचं गणित येऊन कुठंतरी टेकलं, थांबलं तर इट्स गोइंग टू बी रिअली डिफिकल्ट फॉर द टीचर्स. जर का स्कूलिंग असं थांबलं नाही, बैजूस ऍप्स आणि असं जर का चालू झालं तर टीचर लोक आम्ही मेलोच की, संपला आमचा विषय, संपला. त्याच्याऐवजी ऍज आय वॉज सेइंग बिफोर की we need to change, we have to be different. सगळ्यांनी पिवळी साडी घातली तर I should wear lemon color shirt so that I stand out. So the same thing, खूप सारे स्कूल्स आहेत, पण I am doing something different and creative. Parents do understand. आताचे पालक खूप विचारपूर्वक आहेत. आता मी असं म्हणतो की रिझल्ट लागल्यानंतर शाळेचा निकाल 100%, मी प्रिन्सिपलला आलेला विचारते स्किल डेव्हलपमेंटचा रिझल्ट किती, तो जरा आतल्या अंगाने मला सांगा. आय एम मोर इंटरेस्टेड इन दॅट. कारण काही दिवसांनी लोक रिझल्ट नाही विचारणार. आता पण दिसतं, पेरेंट्स डोंट आस्क मी मुलाला काय येतं, इंग्लिश बोलता येतं का, डिबेट चांगलं करता येतं का. दे स्टार्टेड. सो स्किल डेव्हलपमेंट वरती लोक जास्त सरकतायत. दे आर थिंकिंग स्कूल इन टू अ डिफरंट वे. पूर्वी जर गणितात मार्क किती, सायन्स मध्ये मार्क किती, मग 100% निकाल, असं राहिलेलं नाही. वी नीड टू चेंज, देन वी विल सस्टेन, असं मला वाटतं.
I will add that we were talking about teachers. आपले टीचर्स in this school, it's more like a family. Yeah, many decisions are taken along with the teachers and staff. There's not so much gap in between. There's a gap, but still we are quite close together. We have taken teachers into confidence. What makes it difficult is some of the government announcements asking parents not to pay or not to pay until the school practically starts. So
And
this
they
is
also
making,
say to me, don't pay the fees, but the school should pay the salaries. That's
yeah,
what they're
but
saying.
the school should pay the salaries. So the government announcements are making it more difficult for the schools to run and the salaries to be paid. If government doesn't make such kind of announcement, I think the positive parents, there are many parents who will come and pay the fees. But if government announces such things, even they stop coming and paying the fees. So I think government cooperation in this matter is needed. Government not only they should look at the perspective of the parents, but of the perspective of the teachers also. Government should give a look and then make announcements, not random announcements without thinking just about the electorate, because parents are more. So that should not be the only issue.
Vote bank.
पुरुषोत्तम, आय थिंक ऑलरेडी पालकांच्यात आणि आमच्या संस्था चालकांच्यात एक दरी असतेच कायमची, शिक्षकांच्यात पालकांच्यात. सो ही काही ना काही म्हणत दरी असते. ती दरी जर का आणखीन वाढत गेली, विश्वासाच्या नात्यावर तर 13 वर्ष मुलं आमच्या ताब्यात असतात. एक सम पेरेंट केम टू मी एंड सेइंग की मॅडम नाही भरतायत. असे ओके, कुठं चाललंय पळून, ना मी चालले ना तुम्ही चालले, ठीक आहे हळूहळू भरा. दिस इज ऑल 1 to 1 आम्ही कन्व्हिन्स करत 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 काही ना काहीतरी मार्ग काढायचा प्रयत्न करतो. पण किती वेळ स्ट्रेच करू, काहीतरी कपॅसिटी आहे या सगळ्या गोष्टींची. आणि गव्हर्नमेंटनी काही असं डिक्लेअर केलं आणि त्याच्यानंतर सिच्युएशन अवघड झाली, म्हणजे आरटीईचे स्टुडंट्सचे कुठे आहेत पैसे? वी स्टील वेटिंग, येतच नाहीत. आता जर त्यांनी आम्हाला म्हटलं की एकदा 6 महिन्याची फी, आम्ही नंतर बघू काय करायचं ते, नंतर कुठनं आणू मी हे सगळे पैसे? दॅट इज गोइंग टू बी डिफिकल्ट. गव्हर्नमेंट शुड थिंक. आरटीईची मुलं 25% भरतो आणि चिल्ड्रन डू कम टू आवर स्कूल. 5-7 वर्ष झाली, not even 1 rupee from the government has reached to us. So how do we take up that gap? So जेवढी दरी होईल तेवढा विश्वास कमी झाला की सगळं. कारण आता मी सगळ्या लोकांना कन्व्हिन्स करते, पालकांना सांगू शकते, टीचर्सना सांगू शकते, किती वेळापर्यंत ते सगळं होल्ड करणार आहे मी. आणखीन 6 महिने, 7 महिने, 8 महिने, that will not sustain. So it has to be taken very properly. म्हणजे just don't think about one side, think about us, सगळ्या साईडचा विचार होऊन काहीतरी निर्णय व्हावा असं खूप मनातून इच्छा आहे. बट आय वंडर.
That's the very important point. Very important point. Amol sir.
See, the salaries of teaching staff, non-teaching staff, cleaning staff, it's the most crucial issue, right? Luckily for us, what happened that whatever construction plan, we just aborted it, and we could divert our funds. So 3 months we could pay full salaries for everyone. But that won't be the case from the next month, because obviously this is going to affect. So what we have done in this manner is that I can share with all of you is that we have classified the students as government sector parents, then private sector parents, the business. We do have some data which they have filled long back while taking admissions. And based on that classification, we are calling them up. We are just requesting them that those who have got their salaries, complete salaries within the last 3 months, that you pay the fees or pay the full fees if you can do it. So somehow, slowly, the number is rising since the last 3-4 days. We are continuously, we are not pressurizing them in that sense, but we are requesting them that you go on through it, and so that the really needy people can get that thing. But as I said, this split happens because of some decisions taken by the education officers in contravention to the GR. Remember, there is a GR of 8th May. In that, it's very clearly stated that you can ask for fees, only don't make it compulsory or don't raise the fees. But some wrong interpretations are taken, and just to play to the gallery, some statements are given regarding that fees should not be collected till lockdown, and then naturally anyone who is even in a position to pay, it just says that let's wait in case any reduction happens or anything that will be beneficial for us. So that should not be happening. Then we are writing to the EOs also that don't circulate some wrong messages. In fact, the education minister had taken a very nice stand that parents should go in the role of the institute owners, and institute owners should go in the role of parents. So if you go for a win-win situation and consider from both sides of the coin, then only you will come at a proper and the schools will sustain. So we need to just keep on educating parents from our side. Neither we just can't, and there is no other way out than just letting them know that how crucial it is for them to pay the fees. And obviously, you won't expect your teachers to go and stand in ration lines for food grains. So that shouldn't be the case. So we are trying from our side to educate, and that is I think, only thing which we can do as of now.
I think the only silver lining is what, like JP Singh sir said, that this might not last forever. One day the school will have to open, and one day everything has to go back to normal, because it just has to. It can't just go on like this.
Yeah, it's a phase, and it
is. And like also Nitu ma'am said, this is just a comma. It's not a full stop. This is just a phase that we are going through. But now that also Sayali ma'am mentioned a very important point, that now you have to reorient the curriculum also, because now if you're teaching online, you can't teach every lesson that is in the textbook. You are now picking and choosing content that is really necessary. That you really want the child to be learn, that they should absolutely learn that thing. Also, one very important point, JP Singh sir said that the current schooling system came 100 or 150, 200 years ago. Isn't there now a time to also reorient? Because if you have now decided that what was told by the governmental bodies as mandatory curriculum is not necessary, you are now going to get a teacher get his or her discretion to pick and choose, make a lesson plan, make an annual plan. This is what I want to teach, this I don't want to teach. If this becomes like a new normal of running education, do you think the trend will now be more where every school or every teacher will be able to pick and choose his or her own important topics? And then now maybe like also the Gurukul system is talked about, where there's a more holistic development, because even today when we are running schools or when parents are sending their children to schools, the idea of a complete learning is not really there. Many times I see schools offer extracurricular activities to add a fee bracket to the existing fee structure. So I'm adding abacus this year, and I'm adding 2,000 rupees more. I'm adding probably Kathak dancing this year, and I'm adding another 2,000 rupees more. So all of that is also something that we have to understand, that maybe school education itself now needs a new normal, needs a new restructuring in a larger way. What would you think are the key areas of this restructuring? Think, sir? Oh, Amol sir, please.
Yeah. Like to add, in case the point goes on, that one of the greatest advantage of this COVID situation, I can say, I think ma'am will tell more with my kids, is that at home we are learning all the whatever our religious books are there. The Agnihotra system, which in fact under your guidance I just started it again 2 months back.
Yes.
And Ram Raksha is there, or let's say Pandit-Bavdekar. So these all things we got time just because the kids are at home.
Yeah.
And in normal cases, we used to have our kids coming back and doing the studies, regular studies at home. Similarly, our orientation also got changed because of this. We got a lot of free time to go into different spiritual books, and in short, shift the focus from materialistic to say spiritualism. And using the same modes, I would like to add that whatever videos we sent this last month, they compulsory had a moral video with it. Verses from a religious text, some moral stories, which in a normal schooling, which was not at all possible for us to do. So as you said, it can become a new norm, wherein we can blend our old wisdom, our old texts, our old treasure, which was so much neglected in the form of just making clerks through the Western system.
Yeah.
That this can be a new norm also.
Also, I think I want to add what was being said was that now education could become more holistic now that we already have had this opportunity to rethink it in such a way. And the good part is that the governmental interference is not there because they themselves are not sure what to say. It's now left to schools to reorient themselves, repackage the education, restructure, like Nitu ma'am said, maybe bring in new ideas, make it more holistic, make it more complete as an education, not just a school business. From that perspective, I think that will something that will keep the school alive. I will still have to depend on these people because they have thought of things I might never think, or Byju's or all these apps might never think of. So what are those trends that you think are going to be the future? What is the focus there? Nitu ma'am, you want to start?
Yeah. The other day when we were discussing that we need to condense our curriculum, like just shrink it because we will have less time. If you really see the 365 days in a year and we work 270 days, okay? And in case the corona goes for longer time, then we will cut down on our gathering time, and because we will have social distancing, we will not have sports activities. So anyhow, we'll get sufficient time in case it stops. In case it doesn't stop, what would we do? I would just going through 4th standard book, and then mathematics says the end of the year, 4th standard should know 4 multiplication, division, and then all 4 actions and time. So just basic 5 संकल्पना आहेत. तेव्हा संकल्पना क्षमता काही बदलणार नाही. सगळं बदलून आम्ही शाळेचं सगळं नवीन केलंय म्हणून का पहिलीच्या मुलाला आम्ही भागाकार नाही शिकवणार आहे. क्षमता त्याच राहतील, फक्त कंडेन्स फॉर्म मध्ये संकल्पना पेज बाय पेज पुस्तक शिकवणं बंद होऊन जाईल. वी वुड टीच देम मल्टिप्लिकेशन व्हेरी वेल सो दे कॅन हँडल एनी मल्टिप्लिकेशन. आता तसं होत नाही. मल्टिप्लिकेशन शिकून झालं की त्याच्या खालची 15 गणितं सोडवून घ्यायची, मग ती चेक करायची वगैरे वगैरे. सो इट्स अ लॉंग प्रोसेस. खरं बघितलं तर जर का क्षमता आधारित अभ्यास काढायचा म्हटला प्रत्येक धड्यात, प्रत्येक इयत्तेचा, प्रत्येक विषयाचा, तर वी वुड नीड व्हेरी लेस टाइम. आणि जर का आणि पुन्हा ऑनलाईन टीचिंग असेल,
सिलेबस ड्रिव्हन राहणार नाही ते.
या म्हणजे त्या क्षमता तरी राहतीलच. म्हणजे हे तर शिकवायचंच आहे, कारण मुलांना या जे साक्षरता म्हणून जे काही आपण घातलेलं आहे की बेरीज वजाबाकी येणं, अंक ज्ञान समजणं, भाषा विहार करणं. म्हणजे आय लुक एट माय लँग्वेज बुक ॲज भाषा विहार. आय डोंट टीच देम लेसन बाय लेसन. End of the year, they should have lots of capacity with vocabulary, should be able to write, should be able to think. असं जर आपण ऑलरेडी कन्स्ट्रक्टिव्हिझम मध्ये बघत होतो तर इट इज नॉट डिफिकल्ट फॉर अस की मग कमी वेळात ते संपेल. आता तर असं चित्र आहे की असा क्षमताधिष्ठित अभ्यास आणि संकल्पना धरून शिकवायचं जर का ठरवलं तर उरलेला वेळ करायचं काय हा प्रॉब्लेम आहे. वी डोंट नो व्हॉट टू डू विथ दॅट. आणि मग सोपं काय आहे की पेज बाय पेज संपूर्ण 270 दिवसात. आता नाव हॅव टू थिंक इफ आय फिनिश ऑल दिस विद इन व्हेरी लिटल टाइम, उरलेल्या वेळामध्ये मला काहीतरी नवीन शिकवायला मिळेल. अँड आय ऑलवेज हॅड दॅट ड्रीम की मला हा वेळ मिळतच नव्हता. टीचरनं काही नवीन करा म्हटलं की वेळ नाही हो, पोर्शन संपायचं हो, परीक्षा आहे हो. टेक्नॉलॉजी इज गोइंग टू मर्ज. अभ्यास सोपा होईल, ऑनलाईन सगळं होईल, एक्झाम्स पण सगळंच बदलेल. पोस्ट म्हणजे टीचरांचं टाचण बदलेल, हाऊ दे डिलिव्हर द लेसन, सगळंच हलणार आहे. आणि या सगळ्यामध्ये वी विल हॅव लॉट्स ऑफ टाइम इन आवर हँड. आणि मग आता टीचर हॅज टू बी व्हेरी क्रिएटिव्ह. अँड इफ शी इज नॉट क्रिएटिव्ह, ॲज यू सेड, कथ्थकवाली नवीन आणली कारण टीचरला कथ्थक येत नाही, ओरिगॅमी वाली नवीन आणली, नवीन आलं तर बिना पैशाचं कुठनं येणार आहे. हॅव टू पे फॉर दॅट. आणि मग बिना पैशाचं एकाच टीचरने सगळं, बिकॉज आय एम नॉट गुड इन कथक, आय एम नॉट गुड विथ लँग्वेज, सो आय हॅव टू हायर अदर पीपल हु आर गुड इन टू दिस. त्यांना हायर करायचं, अकॅडमिक वाले वेगळे. सो ऑफकोर्स आहे त्या फीज मध्ये होणारच नाही. श्रिंक झालेलं दिसेल, पण नवीन फॅकल्टी घ्यावी लागेल इफ यू वॉन्ट टू ऍड समथिंग. समजा ग्राउंड वर मोठं ग्राउंड आहे, आय वॉन्ट टू हॅव ऍडव्हेंचर ऍक्टिव्हिटी, कॅन आय डू इट? आय नीड एक्सपर्ट फॉर दॅट. ह्या सगळ्या ऍक्टिव्हिटी, नवीन स्किल्स, काही ज्या सोप्या सोप्या, लाईक ॲज अ वुमन आय नो रांगोळी काढायची, पेंटिंग काढायचं, ओके, बट दॅट्स नॉट सफिशियंट. पूर्ण वर्षामध्ये इफ आय प्लॅन दॅट आय गिव्ह मेनी डिफरंट ऍक्टिव्हिटीज through one-to-one teaching, then I have to hire new people and get them into systems. That would be a little difficult. I hate challenging. I am a very positive person. I said, yes, we will do it some or the other way. हळूहळू का विना. क्रांती रात्रीतनं नाही होणार आहे. क्रांतिकारकाने किती जीव दिला तेव्हा देशाला स्वातंत्र्य मिळाले. शिक्षणातली क्रांती एका दिवसात कशी होणार आहे? होईल, हळूहळू होईल. स्लोली विल, अँड एव्हरीबडी विल अडॉप्ट इट. बिलीव्ह मी, एव्हरीबडी विल अडॉप्ट इट. आपण सगळ्यांना सांभाळून हळूहळू करत गेलो तर. मध्ये मध्ये मलाही होतं काय गो डाऊन, काय होणार, जाऊ दे, सोडून द्या. forget it. People say any nonsense about us, but that's not the way I'm born for. I have to do some change in education. And me, Amol sir, Jaiprakash sir, we are the people. We should not lose hopes. We have to fight. काही ना काहीतरी निघेल मार्ग, and we will come out of this. पण बदल तर नक्की करावा लागेल. That's a challenging. आणि एज्युकेशन मध्ये फील करणारे काम always like to work with challenges, isn't it? All of us like to work with challenges.
Nice.
Like I would like to add, Nitu was there in Finland last February. She's seen the Finnish schools. They used to teach from maybe 8th grade onwards. Carpentry hota, electrician's work hota, plumbing work. So these skills in the outside world, outside India, no one comes and does this work at your home. You have to learn your own skills. So we will get time to teach our children these skills, banking skills. So practical oriented education has to come in to substitute. If the time is remaining, these types of skills have to be taught to the children.
More important is life skills. Life skills.
Singh sir, I want to say, but what Neel is saying is absolutely right. I've seen a dream school in Finland, but then that needs lots of investment. It's a big labs. Okay, carpentry, you need somebody who's teaching that very well. Then a big laboratory. Now with the schools like our schools and big schools can afford, but then we're just not thinking about just limited thing. Think about India, and is it really possible? Or sometimes you just think about what strength I have and just go ahead of it.
Well, the Finland
How would
is
you
very
guide me, Singh
successful.
sir?
In Finland, it has been
very successful because the best of the best are taken as teachers. And they're paid very well.
That's the point.
And it has become it is a, what you call prestigious to be a teacher in Finland.
Yes.
Whereas in India, it's the other way around. It is not out of choice. It is out of compulsion. If a person becomes a teacher, okay. So once you change the paradigm from the best, that you pay the best salaries and you take the most creative people and who have a passion for teaching.
Absolutely.
If that is the one, you have a teachers like that, then our country will go somewhere else. The main thing is not the lab, it is the teacher. The passionate teacher is very important. And if from your own experience, if you see which teacher you loved the most, it is the one who gave you love and affection, not the best subject teacher, the one who cared for you. So that caring is very important for a growing child. So whenever I look back and see which teacher was my favorite, it is a teacher who had a caring teacher, who always, looked after you. I remember from my own experience, a very naughty child, and every teacher used to beat me up. Every teacher, without exception. But there was one teacher who never beat me. And in her class, I never used to make any noise because she was the one who treated me like a child.
Yeah.
Whereas other teachers, you naughty boy, you make noise, thud with a scale, she used to whack me. So I used to make more noise in her class. So the loving teacher is very important. And in Finland, they use the best of the best.
Yes.
So unless we have that kind of passionate teachers, it's very difficult.
Also, I think what I saw with your school when I was there was a lot of extracurricular were there. I mean, you had a swimming pool and you had, I think, a big cricket ground and all of that going as well. I hope I am 15 years, it must have become more.
Now we have a very big badminton academy. I've tied up with a very international badminton player called Jwala Gutta, Hyderabad. She has constructed a very big stadium in my school. It's a win-win situation for both of us.
Nice.
So I feel sports is one neglected area in most of the schools because most of them lack the ground. Fortunately, I have a very big area, about 55-acre land I have in Moinabad. So I can afford to, do all that.
And anything new you're thinking of doing going forward?
New is that sports academy that I've started.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that we are trying to inculcate is we have tried to make two things mandatory for every child. Every child should be able to defend herself or herself. Martial art is compulsory. And farming, we have tried to inculcate that they have to be able to farm, grow their food wherever they are in the mountain. If they fall tomorrow, they should be able to cultivate their own food. This is something that we feel that value addition connect with the ground will grow. they shouldn't think of mud as dirt. That's a very bad word that they use in English. That's dirt. That's not dirt. That's mitti, you know. Amol sir, you want to add something? What is the new normal?
Yeah, very true. Both the things which you just mentioned about farming and self-defense.
I would add one more thing to that.
Jesus.
Swimming. I'm passionate about swimming. Survival. It's a life-saving skill. Yeah. Yeah. And in Pune, there's one organization called Rashtriya Life-Saving Society.
Okay.
I was a trustee at one time, but where they teach first aid and how to rescue people from the water. And it's a very good organization. If any of you can who are in Pune or nearby, they can contact that. And the head of that is one Admiral P.D. Sharma. Okay. He's a main president of that society. So I was teaching first aid to my students because I felt that was very important skill that anyone should know. How to do CPR, how to give first aid. These are the skills that students should learn, you know.
Also, we make sure that they are taught the whole good touch, bad touch concept, you know. That's something that we have also made mandatory in the school. There is a person who comes in and trains the children. Also safety training, you know, that they need to exit all the emergency drills we make them do, where to exit, where to enter, what happens in the case of earthquake and all of that.
Even health emergency things like CPR is there.
Yes.
Those certain things are there which are absolutely essential nowadays. Basically, farming, as you suggested, that has to become a new norm. Rather, because in this COVID situation, we found out that the only thing which we survived on is food, and what is the only requirement, rather the thing which is required as of now. Remaining all things are okay. So these things have to be included in our curriculum.
Actually, we are teaching, means rifle shooting academy is there, cricket academy is there, then seed planting and all that kind of lectures are there. Then kids kitchen workshop is there. So we are trying our level best to do all these activities in our school also. So as I said, means we all people, all social people, they should understand this thing. Teacher is a part of our society, very important part of our society. So बाकी सगळे जसं एक्सपेक्ट करतात की आयटी वाले हाईक एक्सपेक्ट करतात किंवा डॉक्टरांची फी वाढू शकते, बाकी आपल्याला सगळं छान स्टँडर्ड मेंटेन करायचं असतं, मग टीचर्सनी का नाही मेंटेन करायचं. अँड ॲज आय सेड की स्कूल हा हॉबी पिरियड नाहीये, तर एक इन्स्टिट्यूशन आहे आणि त्याला रन करण्यासाठी बायजू किंवा दुसरं कुठलं आपण एक्सचेंज नाही करू शकत या कुठल्या गोष्टींनी. तर हे जे सगळ्या गोष्टी आता आपण बोललो, तर त्याच्यासाठी आय थिंक स्कूल इज व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट.
Nice. And I think what is coming out from all of this talk is that we have to prepare the children for an eventuality. I mean, it's not as if we are trying to teach them survival skill because we are trying to look at a dystopic world. We are not going to talk of a zombie apocalypse or whatever. We are trying to prepare them for a coming time so that they are more ready than we were. And we were ready when we were young, we were children. We hope that our children become slightly better than, as a version better than us. Going forward, do all of you feel that maybe is something that I feel very deeply about, that there needs to be a larger collaborative effort among schools, that we can't work in isolation, that if there is a good idea, it has to be implemented in all schools. It can't be a USP of one school to get admission driven there. You know, that is something that businesses think about, that this is my product's USP, come here and pay a little bit more fee. That might still work out, but do you think a larger collaborative effort needs to come in? Has that this pandemic taught us that every industry has come together? You know, if you look at IT, they have banded together. If you look at manufacturing, they have come together. Automobiles have come together, and they are thinking from a common perspective. They're not thinking his company and my company. They're thinking from a industry sector perspective. Do you think education needs that kind of a banding together, that schools need to come together in a bigger way, collaborate, exchange ideas, and come up with better opportunities going forward? I mean, as the future, for instance.
Definitely. It should not be a competition, but collaboration. That's how all schools can survive. You know, we in Telangana, in Hyderabad, we have an association of schools. The reason why all these schools came together is because they had to fight the government, because the government was coming with very unreasonable regulations. So when all the schools joined together and started making representation to the government, the DEOs and others, they had to follow our suggestions.
Hmm.
So banding together for a common cause, yes. But apart from that, they should also collaborate to find out what are the best practices
Exactly.
in our school. What is the best practice? How can we exchange ideas?
Hmm.
Because in future, we don't know what kind of jobs are going to be there. There's going to be artificial intelligence. There's going to be robotics.
Yeah.
It's going to take up a lot of jobs. Manufacturing jobs are going to go to robotics. IT industries and all, they'll be affected by artificial intelligence. So we need to have workforce that thinks beyond that, or workforce that can operate these new technologies. Unless you do that, you'll be left behind.
Nitu ma'am?
Of course. ज्ञान दिल्याने काही संपणार नाही. इनफॅक्ट ते वाढेल. If I share, I got to know something from Amol sir that what he did in his school की प्रत्येक इकॉनॉमिक लेवल्सचे लोक बघितले. सो इट्स शेअरिंग इज ऑलवेज क्रिएटिंग न्यू नॉलेज. तुम्हाला जे उपयोगी असतं ते तुम्ही घेतच राहता आणि प्रत्येकाचा प्रोग्रेस होतच राहतो. सो कोलॅबोरेशन लर्निंग we already adopt that to the student school levels that they have to come together, get their thoughts, get to know new things, and we can sustain better. No option for collaboration. Why let's fight? And it is not difficult now. Just check. I am sitting in Kolhapur, Singh sir sitting in Hyderabad. आता तो डिस्टन्सिंगचा पण प्रश्न राहिलेला नाहीये. So just in one meeting we get to know so many things, and that will absolutely enhance the education quality.
I believe that is lacking right now. The schools need to come together, but there is a lot of disbelief or a feeling of competition. It should not be there actually. That's the fact. It needs to be, everyone needs to come together, but it's still not happening. It needs to happen.
Because why am I saying this? Because Amol sir and we are neighbors in terms of schools. Our school and Amol sir's school is like half a kilometer away. I mean, we are in the same area, and it is a constant collaborative effort I see, because there's a lot of teacher exchange that happens. There's a lot of information exchange that happens. Students get exchanged, and I feel that needs to be encouraged in across maybe the whole sector, because there is a lot of, like ma'am said, there is this valley of distrust between teachers and parents, teachers and management. If there is more clarity, if there is a more better idea exchange and more collaboration, I think that valley could be bridged up. There could be more understanding coming in, and that I think is going to be the future, because the whole industry needs to now get out. Every industry, like Amol sir said, every industry is looking at it as an opportunity, because they are trying to reinvent their own industry norms inside. They're changing their SOPs, they're changing their methodologies, they're changing their protocols. I think as educative industry sector, this sector itself has to also do that. But like Nitu ma'am is doing in her own thing, Sayali ma'am is doing her whole innovation. I think if that happens across platform, there is going to be a lot more that we can offer. Amol, you want to say something on this?
Yeah, surely. Until we come together, we won't share the ideas available. Like now, so many things we also bought from this small meet. I think we could have so many frequent discussions, and normally we tend to come together in case the government forces us to come together.
The main thing is trust factor.
This
is there.
But now we have come together. I feel this should go in for the longer run. Acceptability among parents for anything which we start new will be more if everyone starts doing it in the similar way. If we come together and put it on, the parents also will understand its significance, its importance. There are small things, like even introduction of a foreign language, say, let's say German language or French language. And if we shouldn't, like if one school only puts it, others say that, okay, just this is something which the school is doing to take out money for it. But in case everyone starts with such things, different things, then the parents also come to know that yes, this is a part and this is going to be useful for their kids' future. So this was just an example, but every small thing, if we come together and share our views and stuff, it's going to be great for all of us.
So I think what is coming out from this whole talk is that there is a lot of passion amongst people who are in the industry, who are in the sector. I always say that a teacher is not just teaching the child ABC or math or science like that. As a teacher, you are shaping the future of the human race. You are shaping the future of humanity itself. You're not trying to create literate people. You're not trying to create job ready people. We are not trying to create some paisa vasool kind of an education. As an education, as a sector, is responsible for creating the next iteration of human race itself. This could be the new evolution that we would want to have, and teachers are going to be, and of course the management itself is going to be playing a very, very important role in that, because every time we see something wrong happen in the world, we have to know that that child who did that must have passed out through some school, and that school should take up the onus that yes, this is a failed product and we made a mess here. We only when we have alumni who are shining stars, we note them out on the chalkboard. There should be another board where we should note down our failures as well. With people who we couldn't shape their ideas in the way we wanted to. So I think this is something that has come out in a good way, that there is a lot of positivity, there is a lot of want of doing good. That needs to be tapped into, that needs to be understood, and the parents, teachers, and the people who run the school should collectively shape this coming evolution. It's not going to be the teachers alone who are responsible. I have paid my fees, now you do your job. That's not going to happen. The parents have to play a very proactive role in all of this, and we have to understand that everything that we see wrong in the world can be changed by teaching the young children not to do that. And that can be done. That's not something that is impossible. That can be done. If we envision a better world, it is a matter of a few decades that we can create it. Actually, it's not something that is a pipe dream anymore. If we saw, if there are hundreds and thousands of schools like ours who are right now running organizations and institutions, if everybody sits together and says, this is something that we want to implement from this year, in the next 3 decades, this should be out of the human system completely, I think that is possible. It could be climate change, we can work on that. If it is hatred, we can work on that. If it is divisiveness, we can work on that. And I think that is where I look at education, that we are creating a new human race. We are not creating just pass outs. We are creating the next human Homo sapien, whatever he or she might look like. I think that's where schools come in, and I don't feel schools will go out of fashion. I think schools will be more in vogue going forward, because people have understood the value of things now. They know what it means to grow food. They know what it means to have a healthcare system. They know what it means to have an education system also. Because even today, as I speak, the healthcare system is under tremendous stress because of what is happening with the constant growing infective focuses around them. Now people value doctors. You have seen them being showered with petals, and you have seen police being showered with petals, because people value these services now. I think this is very important, that this pandemic was, like I always say, this was a 2.5 month meditation we were made to do. This was a forced introspective meditation that we were forced to do. We all did it, and I think the human race itself is coming out in a very big way. Positivity is growing. I don't see a lot of negativity grow, though people keep saying that this is going wrong, that is going wrong, hatred is going. I don't see that. I see goodness grow. And I see on this panel people who want to shape that goodness into something better. There is a potential out there, and you are sculptors who are going to now get this huge potential, some shape and size. So I thank all of you for giving this wonderful time. Any closing comments? Anybody wants to say anything on the
schools are nation builders. Teachers are nation builders.
Yeah.
As you said, And I remember Newton's first law. It says a body goes in motion if it only changes the direction when there's an external force. So this pandemic was an external force which changed their direction. Unless there is a external force, people don't. They are always in their comfort zone. They keep doing what they have been doing for years together. So it was a pleasure talking to everyone, and I wish all the best to each and everyone, and be safe. And
anybody else wants to say something in the closing?
Yeah, we always say that children, teachers, and parents are 3 pillars. Today we have seen the management is also the 4th pillar, which is so much important. So I think it was good to have a talk with all of you and sharing your experiences. And I think this talk will definitely benefit each and all of who is listening, and all of us here. Thank you so much.
Amol sir, Sayali ma'am, any?
We are very thankful to you also, sir. Nitu ma'am, Neel sir, Singh sir, very nice to meet you and sharing
Same
the
here.
video. We are really, we are very happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Purushottam.
Thank you all. Thank you for giving this time. And I wanted the world to see that people who run schools are not here for the business. We are here because we are passionate about global change. We are worried about the world. We want to work for the transformation, and all of us are working for that. So I wanted the world to see that. Thank you so much, JP Singh sir, Amol sir, Sayali ma'am, Neel sir, Nitu ma'am. Thank you so much for giving this time. We hope to work collaboratively, all of us, to create a larger impact going forward. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.